Hey everyone, this is Trevor, and thank you for coming to my channel, Pioneer Spirit. I appreciate everyone who supports the channel by liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, all that. It's greatly appreciated. Something that's been floating around my mind for the past couple years at least, and it's the question of what is Justin Trudeau's legacy? What is Trudeau's legacy going to be? So like every leader of a country, they have a legacy, right? And whether it's good or bad or a combination of both, I think, well, what's Justin Trudeau's legacy going to be? And I honestly, I always try to come up with the good. Is there anything good they've done? Obviously, everyone, politicians and my prime minister and president, they did this, it was bad, and but I try, I really try. I'm trying very hard, and I can come up with something that he's done that some may consider good, some maybe bad, but I'm kind of leaning towards it's more good, but I'm gonna list that one to the end. And I want to just go through everything that I have seen, being that I'm a 51-year-old Canadian citizen, lived in Canada all my life, and I've lived through several prime ministers that I can remember. I go as far back as Brian Mulroney. Then for a few months there was Kim Campbell, and then oh my goodness, Jean Chrétien, then Paul Martin, Stephen Harper, and now since 2015, so we're going on 9 years of Justin Trudeau, and it's always usually the same standard thing: prime ministers and presidents, blah, they're good, they're bad, and blah. But this time, this guy really, I don't know, he has. Has he destroyed Canada? Has he broken Canada? Has he done? I don't think he's done anything very good. And but I will list something that could possibly be good. I'll tell you towards the end. So, I want to start off, especially what's gone on since since 2020, and that's the forced medical procedure to keep your job. And especially if you're, federal employee, prevention, whatever, you were forced to take a medical procedure to keep your job. And that's the that's the God honest truth, the universal truth. If you worked in healthcare, you had to take a medical procedure, in and around, it was, late 2020, the 2021, up until 2022. Which was pretty much broken by the truckers convoy in Ottawa. But up until that point, if you had a job in a hospital and you wanted to keep it, you have to take a medical procedure, Mr. 19, to keep a job, or don't report it on Monday. This happened in healthcare. Happening in the trucking industry, the military, police. I mean, you name it. I don't know, unless somebody found a way around it. You wanted to keep your job, which is absolutely. I mean, it goes against what's right and wrong. It goes against what's legal and illegal. It goes against, Geneva codes. It was just a horrible thing to have to do to people. And yet he did get reelected after that. So I'm not sure, anyways, I don't know. Canadians care about that or not, but that's something that's definitely not on the bright side of his legacy, that he mandated forced medical procedures to keep your job, okay? Which was ended, I had mentioned, by the truckers convoy that went to Ottawa, and that's February 2022, and which leads into the next thing. That protest was deemed, even by police, that it was peaceful. No, everyone who showed up to that convoy in Ottawa, the Freedom Convoy, was peaceful. There was no weapons found. There was no pew-pews found. There was nothing. Okay, there was bouncy houses and barbecues. The truckers did excellent job of cleaning up after themselves. It was just it was not. It was a protest. It inconvenienced probably the people. Yeah, living in Ottawa. But I'll tell you, we had been inconvenienced for darn near close to 2 years with just what I mentioned previously by having forced medical procedures. So what does Justin Trudeau not just Justin Trudeau? I want to point out too that there was obviously no other liberals because they're not going to go against their supreme leader Trudeau. No conservatives. The opposition leaders were the conservatives didn't come out. No MPs. No, not Jagmeet Singh and the NDP. Not one politician walked out and walked amongst the crowd. Okay, not one, and that was so disappointing. Because the opposition's like, they went with everything Trudeau said about, Mr. 19. And they did everything, they didn't do anything to oppose it. They didn't do anything to slow it down, and obviously no one did. I mean, really, there was no unions, no politicians, nobody. There was a very few select people, like myself, who were... I'm saying, hey, if it's not voluntary, it's tyranny. Okay, and that's what it was. So, so shame on all the politicians, okay, for doing that. And then in the end, so Trudeau won't come out and talk to him. Now, I mean, did he fear for his life? I don't know. He's probably not, okay, if that's you just come out and talk to people. If you're that fearful, I mean, bring the your armed bodyguards out with you. I mean, you just come out and talk to the people. That's all they wanted. You would have been safe. You would have been fine. But he didn't really have to. I mean, the message was sent: shut down Mr. 19 mandates now. And that's that's 2 years ago. So what does Trudeau do? He institutes what they call the Emergency Act, which is kind of Orwellian talk to me. It's double speak. What it is it's martial law. And Trudeau said, that's it. Canada has martial law. So they sent in armed public sector workers on horseback, and they had the shield walls pushing the people back, and the people are like, whoa, they actually fired pew-pews onto, there was a reporter from Rebel News who was hit with some kind of something was fired at her, which, this was absolutely unnecessary. Okay, and it was just proven a few days ago, as I make this, it's January 25th, 2024, that there was a judge in Canada that just ruled what Justin Trudeau and his band of merry people did was unconstitutional. Okay, you can say whatever else it was. The best wording for it was unconstitutional. Okay, and I'll even go above and beyond, because I like to use the terms of right and wrong. And it was definitely wrong to have martial law for people that were shown to be peaceful. Okay, bouncy houses and barbecues. Oh, they shut down. Well, I mean, Ottawa. Okay, well, it's okay for the government to have, what was it, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. They flattened our economy, that's for sure. That's okay. But hey, when we go to say to the government, okay, it's been long enough now. We've done everything you want to do. Let us go. And it's like, let my children go. And Trudeau's like, no, here's your martial law. Thunk, thunk on the head. So that's part of his legacy, which is bad. Something happened a few years ago. It's called the Wee Scandal. It's a charity in Canada. And, he was grilled on ethics. Because family members involved and whatnot, so there's money scandals that he's involved in, and it's that doesn't go down well. Taking private property away, even in Canada, there's a guy. Is it David Clementi? David Clementi, I think he's an MP, or Attorney General for Canada. He's high up there. He's on the Liberal side. It doesn't matter. He's on the government side. And he has said that, no, Canadians don't have absolute property rights. And I remember I made a video about this just over a year ago, and I thought, unbelievable. Like, you try to talk to these people, say, that are against property rights. And I say, well, what's the ultimate highest form of property? And it's always, it's the same. Oh, your house or your car or whatever, blah, blah, blah. No, yourself. You are the most important, ultimate, highest form of private property. Your body is private property. You are private property. Nobody owns you, okay? At least, we're supposed to not own people, right? It's the 21st century, but obviously, and then I go back to Mr. 19. We didn't own our body. We didn't own our body. We didn't have ultimate property rights. As David Clemente had said about a year and a half ago, we don't have ultimate property rights. And that's true because they made it known that, hey, you want to keep your job? You have to inject something into a medical procedure into your body to keep your job. So we don't even own ourselves, right? Through that. So, I mean, property rights, we don't have it. And every, 6 months, Trudeau's taking away firearms in Canada. Now, firearms in Canada, we don't have like the American 2A. We don't have a right to bear arms. We have essentially the privilege to own firearms in Canada. Okay, so, and that privilege can be revoked at any time. At any time, the RCMP, the federal police force, want to take away your privilege to own firearms. That's gone. So we don't even have, we don't even have a right to defend ourselves really in Canada. There's none of that. It's, you have to abide by, and that's what we do as Canadian firearm owners. We abide by the laws. But in the end, it's like, you don't have the right to keep them. They can come in and take them at any time. And, Trudeau, and he keeps banning more firearms after one another. And, which is kind of, it's always scary, I think, when a government is saying, hey, my public sector workers that come with firearms are going to get the best, and they will have ultimate supply, and they'll have everything, and my citizens have nothing. It's kind of a, it's kind of a scary thought, I think, to have that property be taken away. And, hey, here in Canada, it's supposed to be for hunting and sport shooting and whatnot. That's great. But those, it's a huge thing in Canada. And I if I were Prime Minister, I'm like, hey, freedom of speech and the right to bear arms would be like the first two things in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. If I had my way. And so it's kind of a strange dynamic, isn't it? In Canada, public sector workers, your police and military, come with the best of the best in firearms. And hey, I have issues with policing and military. I think that they could be strengthened and complemented by a citizenry that does have the right to bear arms. So, but when they don't, it's not a very good dynamic. It didn't work out good it never works out good for citizens when the government controls the means of self-defense to protect your private property. And that goes beyond your land, your home, your car. The ultimate form of private property is yourself. Okay, so, think about that. And Trudeau has made it quite clear that he doesn't care about that. I'm just reading my list of things that I've got here, and it just, I didn't write this down, but I thought about this morning. I thought, Trudeau, and nothing against him if he hadn't been Prime Minister of Canada, but, he has a degree in drama. So I thought, okay, yeah, that's fine. He was qualified to teach acting, drama to public school, perhaps high school people. And that would have been fine. But he's put into a position of prime minister, and you should have a sound knowledge of what's right and wrong, economics. Should have something in that, but he doesn't. He's even said he doesn't understand economics, and he admires how China can turn around their economy on a dime. And I'm like, you obviously don't know economics, because you admire a communist regime, China. I mean, let's just look at the communist countries around the world, shall we? Soviet Union, China, North Korea, Venezuela went socialist, 2010, and like none of these, Cuba, I can just keep going on. None of them work, right? Like tell me how many people escaped East Berlin to get into West Berlin, okay? Communism to get into capitalism. The number's massive, and the number of people that are like, hey, let's go from West Berlin to East Berlin, the numbers of people that escaped into communism are like, I could probably count on my hand, but the number of people who have escaped communism to get into countries like the UK, Canada, before it was socialist, in America, like before, people would escape, and they still do. I mean, just look at the U.S. Mexican border. People are like, I got to get out of here, and it's amazing. Yeah, so Justin Trudeau has no qualifications to be Prime Minister of Canada. Like, I've sat here before and went, look, I don't know if it takes a rocket scientist to be Prime Minister or some kind of, but I mean, it's pretty basic, I think, but he can't even handle these basic things. Like, look, what do Canadians need? Well, they need cheap energy, right? Well, how do we get that? Well, has he done anything for the energy field? Has he said, hey, let's make sure that commercial and residential dwellings are fueled with nuclear power? Nuclear power could be a very cost-effective, it's clean and cheap to power commercial and residential dwellings, right? Now, how do we... Okay, right there. So now you're getting these nice bills in your house. Hey, this is good, right? I can have the heat up a bit more. I can be warm in the winter, cool in the summer. Because believe it or not, even in Northern Ontario, it gets pretty freaking hot in the summertime, right? 40 Celsius with humidity, okay? Or like 90 Fahrenheit for my American peeps. And that, and just look where Northern Ontario is, right? So it can get pretty darn... And yeah, it can get to minus 40 in the wintertime. So... let's provide people with clean, cheap nuclear power for commercial and residential dwellings. And I'll tell you what, hey, we have tons of gas and natural gas in Canada. So why don't we just pump it out, produce it to make sure that our fine truckers can bring us the goods that we need in our home for cheap? Because I can tell you right now, every time I go to the grocery store right now, $300 does not go very far anymore, okay? I mean, yeah, that's what it takes, every few weeks to make sure that a family of three in my household can do good, to make sure that we have nutrition, okay? Because nutrition, you don't want to just eat chips, which by the way, a bag of chips now is like $4.50, $4.80. Used to be like $2. So, and you can't even, even the cheap shit food is expensive. So, as Prime Minister, energy's gotta be a priority. Make sure people have clean, cheap energy to get the goods and services that they are deserving of, okay? And really, even... I digress from my original topic of what Trudeau's legacy is going to be, but really, digressing or not, I mean he hasn't done anything for any sector in Canada that is beneficial for anyone, and he has no concept. We're probably going to have a spring election or a fall election here in 2024, and he doesn't. If he loses, so what? So what? He retires and drives his little, he'll drive around his convertible Mercedes that he inherited from his dad or his grandpa. And he'll just go down in history maybe he does go down as the worst prime minister. It doesn't matter. He has millions of dollars. It doesn't matter to him. He's never had to to understand what it's like to go, hey, I got paid. I got paid this week. I got X amount of dollars, but I have to make sure, whether you're on your own or you have a family, you need to make sure you have food. Is the rent paid? Mortgage paid? Is my car payments paid? Do I have gas to put in the car? I need money for that. If you have any disposable income at the end, you do what you want with it, right? Well, he's never had to worry about that. And disposable income, that's almost a joke these days now. He's never had to worry about it. He never will worry about it. So does he worry about his legacy? Probably. I don't know. Fuck, he probably doesn't even give a shit. But I just, I think it is worth noting what he has done over his reign of really terror here in Canada. Prime ministers, they always do shitty things, but this is just the list of things just keeps going on and on and on. But Mr. 19 it's got to be the worst since what he's done, and printing money, and then all his agendas. They aren't everything that Trudeau does. It isn't for the average person. It isn't for the middle class. It isn't for the poor. I don't know how the wealthy, they're gonna leave Canada just like they're leaving California to go to other places in the States. Like, taxed to death in Canada. In fact, Trudeau's government spending, it's on par with Soviet Russia. He's destroying Canada if he's not already destroyed it. So I think that pretty much points out all the things that I can think of that I wrote down here. He does nothing for Canada. So I tried coming up with something good, right? I thought, you got to come up with something good. Trudeau must have done something good. And the only thing I could really come up with is that he legalized marijuana in Canada. Is that good? Is it bad? I sometimes, I've wondered if it's better to decriminalize things, or whether the government makes something legal or illegal, they make money on it either way. It's like, well, make it illegal, and people break the law, well, we'll make money off it somehow. And we make it legal, well, people can legally open stores and sell it. So, I don't know, is that a good thing? It's a bad thing? I'm not sure, too, if in Canada, if you open up a pot store, whether you can even own a firearm. Don't quote me on that one, but I thought I saw something about that a little while ago, but so I don't need, I'm like, is it a benefit that he legalized marijuana in Canada? I'm like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? I maybe just decriminalize it, but again, Trudeau looked at it as like a cash cow, right? If we legalize it, people open up stores, so we'll collect more in taxation and try to build up the coffers from the revenue of taxation from the store. So I don't know. That's the best I can come up with. That's the best I can come up with, Justin. I can't think of anything you've done for Canada that's legalizing marijuana. That's the best I can come up with your legacy. The rest of your legacy is going to be filled with calling the unvaccinated misogynistic and should we tolerate them, and if you want to keep your job in Canada, you have to take a medical procedure, and what have you done for the military? Are you even meeting your 2% quota for NATO? The GDP spending for NATO countries is supposed to be 2%. I think it's 1.6 right now. He's not even helping out that sector. And that sector was hit hard too, obviously with Mr. 19 and the keep your jobs, along with fucking every other Canadian. I'm sorry, I cannot think of anything other than legalize marijuana that might be positive on his legacy. But his legacy is going to be horrible. Mr. 19, and how he keeps getting reelected. And then, I think about his father. How did his father keep getting reelected? He was Prime Minister of Canada from 1968 to 79. Then he was the opposition leader, 79 to 80. And then 80 to 84, again, Pierre was Prime Minister of Canada. And those same people that voted for Pierre back then, they're alive. They were alive. They're still hanging around. They were voting for, they must have been thought, oh, Justin will be good too. So I don't know. The way Canadians vote, it's freaking, it's so strange. So I think what we're going to have, because 40 years ago, Justin's father, Pierre, was removed finally from office. And that's how people were like, oh, finally he's gone. So I think this year, it's 40 years later, Justin will be removed. And it'll be like when Mulrooney came in and people are like, oh my God, he's going to be so great. And I don't know. I got some Mulrooney and I don't know. It's like, you know what? Conservative leaders, like someone will they replaced Pierre, and it's like liberals take two shitty steps forward, and then conservatives, when they get in power, they go one step back, right? Like they'll remove some of the liberal policies. Like this year, if Justin Trudeau survives another federal election, I mean, he's probably like, guys, I don't want to do this anymore, literally. But I'm sure he's going to go down, and when he's removed and someone else comes in, what they'll do is kind of remove whatever Justin's done. A couple of things. It's like Justin took two steps forward, and the next prime minister, probably a conservative guy, will take one step back. And what I mean by that, like they'll go to like firearms, like they've been completely banned almost in Canada, and they'll take a few things away. They'll just kind of shuffle it around here and there, and they might do a few things here and there, but it's not like they're going to go above and beyond. And that's what a frustration that I have too is that after Justin's gone, the next Prime Minister of Canada will just be it's just the same old. It's like they'll come in, remove a couple things, but they don't go above and beyond. They don't try to institute things like freedom of speech, the property rights in all the sense of ownership of inanimate objects and yourself. They don't look into, hey, how in the hell can we save money? Canada is so freaking far in debt. Like, I mean, they don't look into anything. It's like in Canada, you become prime minister, you can't touch institutions like healthcare, education. I mean, those two right there, you're supposed to never touch them. Just a never-ending pool of money. Just keep throwing it into the black hole, really. And so what will the next prime minister can do? Not much. But again, I guess I digress from that because I really want to focus on Justin Trudeau's legacy, which is what martial law, Mr. 19 mandates, charity scandals, doesn't have a clue on economics, likes China's economy though. And that's it. So, but I guess he, legalized marijuana. So I don't know. Smoke up, and that maybe will help you forget about Canada's sinking like the Titanic. Okay. Thanks very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.